Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Terre, Haute. This congregation welcomes all people, regardless of their age, religion, race, nationality, ability, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, or anything else that has been used to divide people. We are a group of people with our own opinions, our own ideas, our own dreams, but we share ideals. We share a common belief in a liberal religion. In our discussions, we may disagree with each other, but we must always remember that what unites us is stronger than what separates us. We must always end the service aware of the love that we have for each other. On being you, the first principle, we affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. By Susan Jacoby, the author. I believe that our obligation is to make life better because it's our obligation to each other as human beings, not in relation to eternal rewards and infernal punishments.
Songs about rainbows and what's on the other side. Rainbows are visions, but only illusions, and rainbows have nothing to hide. So we've been told, and some choose to believe it. I know they're wrong, wait and see. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. Who said that would be heard and answered when wished on the morning star? Somebody thought of that, and someone believed it. Look what it's done so far. What's so amazing that keeps us stargazing, and what do we think we might see? Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me, all of us under a spell. We know that it's probably magic. Have you been half asleep, and have you heard voices? I've heard them calling my name. Is this the sweet sound that calls the young sailors? The voice might be one and the same. I've heard It's something that I'm supposed to be. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me.
These are written by Ella Wheeler Wilcox, a poet. So many gods, so many creeds, so many paths that wind and wind, while just the art of being kind is all the sad world needs. So it is my pleasure to turn the program over to Sarah, who will talk on humanism.
Good morning. So yes, I am Sarah Clarke. I am a licensed mental health counselor, and I work at a maximum security male prison down in Carlisle, the Wabash Valley Correctional Facility. So I feel pretty strongly that humanism has a close space in my life. I have a PowerPoint somewhere. But to first start off with, I'd like to thank Julie for asking me to speak, and then Betsy, who's not present right now, for being open to my musical needs and everything. So for me, the idea of humanism makes me a better therapist, being open-minded and having sort of a non-judgmental view on the people that I work with. And I feel pretty strongly that with humanism, there's less for me to be angry about on a regular basis. And to differentiate that there are multiple types of humanism. You can Google humanism and you're going to get 8 million different varieties out there. So there are religious-centered humanist ideas that can be Christian humanism or Jewish humanism or a Buddhist humanism. But we're going to focus mainly on the secular humanism piece of it. So within secular humanism, there's personism, post-humanism, Renaissance humanism, and transhumanism. So what is humanism? This description of humanism is a progressive philosophy of life that, without supernaturalism, affirms our ability and responsibility to lead ethical lives of personal fulfillment that aspire to the greater good of humanity. The life stance of humanism is guided by reason, inspired by compassion, and informed by experience. It encourages us to live life well and fully. It evolved through the ages and continues to develop through the efforts and thoughtful people who recognize that values and ideas, however carefully wrought, are subject to change as our knowledge and understanding advance. And the sort of tagline is good without God. That is humanism. And so before we move on, so the prime importance of humanism is that of the human. And humanism has manifestos, which are fun. The Humanist Manifesto originally was from 1933. It grew and expanded in 1973. And then there's the Humanist Manifesto 3, which was developed in 2003, which is where we're going to sort of focus our energy. And then, what is humanism is really dependent upon who you ask, because some consider it a theory, a philosophy, a religion, or even a political ideation. So we're going to sort of maybe focus more on the idea of a philosophy than anything else. So how does humanism fit with the UU? First and foremost, it's right here. It fits because it's on the mural. But if we consider the UU principles and how they kind of fit and coalesce with what the humanist tenets are, we find that there is a very close relation between the two ideologies. So we're going to explore humanism, which is thousands of years of human thought that I have put into the next 6 slides. So, yeah. Okay, so the Humanist Manifesto 3 has one of the first tenets is, knowledge of the world is derived by observation, experimentation, and rational analysis. Humanists find that science is the best method for determining knowledge, as well as for solving problems and developing beneficial technologies. We also recognize the value of departures in thought, the arts, and the inner experience subject to analysis by critical intelligence. So, my example of this would be, we all are aware of like STEAM or STEM programming, right? Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. What a humanist would argue is it should be STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, yes. So anytime you see somebody that says, we need more STEM in our schools, you tell them, no, we need STEAM. That there is value to not just the scientific exploration of our society, but also the arts and how those play a part in who we are. So tenet number 2 is humans are an integral part of nature, the result of unguided evolutionary change. Humanists recognize nature as self-existing. We accept our lives as all and enough, distinguishing things as they are from things as we might wish or imagine them to be. We welcome the challenges of the future and are drawn to and undaunted by the yet to be known. And so I want you to imagine or to believe that you are enough as you are as an individual. But bordering on nihilism, you're also fairly insignificant in the time frame and timeline of humans and life. That and my goals that I have for my personal self are not an indicator of what my worth is as a person. That my worth is inherent because I am a human being, not because of the things I'm doing with my life. So remember that. You're enough but insignificant. Tenet number 3 is ethical values are derived from human need and interest as tested by experience. And remember, it's human need, not some supernatural or unknown need from somebody above. Humanists ground values in human welfare, shaped by human circumstances, interests, and concerns, and extended to the global ecosystem and beyond. We are committed to treating each person as having inherent worth and dignity, and to making informed choices in the context of freedom and harmony with responsibility. And actually, I thought of Rex when I was thinking of an example of this one, so I'm going to use gun control. That I can have my belief in, say, the Second Amendment and my ability to have guns, but I'm going to use that or in harmony with what is responsible, which in the Second Amendment it talks about a well-regulated militia. And so if we're going to have things like guns for hunting or something like that, we're going to make sure we're doing so responsibly and well-regulated. We're balancing our freedom with and the responsibility to myself and the community around me, and that I am not the most important person in that conversation. Life's fulfillment, or this is tenet number 4, life's fulfillment emerges from individual participation in the service of humane ideals. We aim for our fullest possible development and animate our lives with a deep sense of purpose, finding wonder and awe in the joys and the beauties of human existence, its challenges and tragedies, and even in the inevitability and finality of death. Humanists rely on a rich heritage of human culture and the life stance of humanism to provide comfort in times of want and encouragement in times of plenty. So again, a little nihilism, that you can't control life and its end, but you can control what you do within that life until it ends. And so we recommend that you take responsibility and control in this moment and not wait for what happens after death. So tenet number 5 is humans are social by nature and find meaning in relationships. Humanists long for and strive towards a world of mutual care and concern, free of cruelty and its consequences, where differences are resolved cooperatively without resorting to violence. The joining of individuals with interdependence enriches our lives, encourages us to enrich the lives of others, and inspires hope of attaining peace, justice, and opportunity for all. And if you're paying attention to your UU principles every week, there's literal word-for-word UU principles in there. So I have a sign out front of my house. It's my one and only political sign that I choose to put out in front of my house, and it simply says, "Just be kind." That if I come at the world with kindness and openness, then any of the potential disagreements I have with somebody are not going to turn into arguments with that person. That disagreement is totally fine and part of being a human being. But again, I don't have to do things to encourage disagreement or arguments with somebody. So tenet number 6 is working to benefit society maximizes individual happiness. If my neighbors are safe, I am safe. Progressive cultures have worked to free humanity from the brutalities of mere survival and to reduce suffering, improve society, and develop global community. We seek to minimize the inequities of circumstance and ability. We support a just distribution of nature's resources and its fruits of human efforts so that as many as possible can enjoy a good life. Humanists are concerned for the well-being of all, are committed to diversity, and respect those with differing yet humane views. Intentionally left out what happens when they're inhumane views, but we work to uphold an equal enjoyment of human rights and civil liberties in an open, secular society and maintain it is a civic duty to participate in the democratic process and a planetary duty to protect nature's integrity, diversity, and beauty in a secure, sustainable manner. Thus, engaged in a flow of life, we aspire to this vision with the informed conviction that humanity has the ability to progress towards its highest ideals. The responsibility of our lives and the kind of world we live in is ours and ours alone. And so to do a little bit of a recap, that what we have discussed is altruism, integrity, honesty, truthfulness, responsibility, and accountability when it comes to being a humanist. And then just as another recap, next slide. These are your UU principles, our UU principles. And to go through them fairly quickly, I want you to recognize language that you may have heard in the last 6 slides and ideas that you may have heard in the last 6 slides. So the inherent worth and dignity of every person, I believe we covered that. Justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, I believe we covered that. Acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. All progress is good progress. A free and responsible search for truth and meaning, we covered that. The right of consciousness and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and society at large, we covered that. The goal of a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all, we have covered that. And the respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. And I know we covered that. Not everything is perfect with humanism. There are holes in humanism, like there are with any philosophy. So one of the things when I was researching the sort of like ins and outs of humanism to give this talk, that one thing that kept coming to mind is the idea of neurodivergence and how there are certain people in our society that when it comes to talking about accountability, empathy, explorative thinking, not everyone in our society thinks the same way that we do. And we can really verge on this sort of ableist or even elitist level of thinking when we stick to humanism in a very strict manner. We can maybe have goals for ourselves individually, but when we start to push those goals or expectations on others, that we're going to fall short for our own society. And this doesn't necessarily mean that somebody who has any kind of neurodivergent issues going on, that they're not capable of humanism or being compassionate towards others or having a community-centered line of thinking. We have to recognize that it's going to look a little bit differently for everybody. And then this is my sort of like provocative slide a little bit, that a person-centered approach may not be best for society or that individual. And one of the things as a mental health professional that comes to mind when I think about having sort of an autonomy over yourself and a responsibility for yourself, the thing that comes to mind are HIPAA laws. And if anybody is unaware of what HIPAA laws are, they are the Health Information Portability and Accountability Act. And what they say is that we have a right to our own privacy when it comes to our medical and mental health care. And for somebody who might be suicidal or have a significant mental illness, that in the throes of that mental illness, they have the right to relinquish or to dissolve the releases of information they might have for their family, and that may not be the best thing for that person. And that, again, provocative slide, that there needs to be some sort of balance between what is this person's ability and their opportunities for themselves versus what might be the safest for that individual or society as a whole. And for this slide, the thing that kept coming to mind was actually a quote from Spock, from Star Trek, if anybody's interested. Spock says that logic clearly dictates that the needs of many outweigh the needs of the few. That sometimes we have to kind of keep in mind that society means that we have to make hard choices as an individual. And the truth of self is that it exists nowhere as a totality. In sort of our modern age, 21st century, we are really committed to being the best us, living our best life, and finding more about who we are as individuals. And sort of in this age of self-discovery and self-acceptance, that we're trying to find out who we are, but the reality is that who we are is really within the context of the condition that we're in and the environment that we're in. And we recognize that change is good. And so finding out who you are is really, as a destination that we're supposed to get to, is potentially unattainable. And truly the only self that we know is our past self, that our future self is still sort of unknown to us. And we'll be a whole new person in the future. And then, lastly, so the fun part about humanism is it literally answers no questions. So if you're looking for the answer to any kind of existential question of, what's my meaning, why are we here, what the heck is going on in the universe and what's my part in it, or anything like that, or any number of existential questions that we might have, that we have to understand that humanism, although a philosophy explored by many, many great minds over thousands of years, doesn't give you any of those answers. And there is an English author, I hope everybody is aware of him, Douglas Adams, who refers to himself as a radical atheist, that in his books he quests to answer what is the meaning, or what's the meaning of life, the universe, and everything. And in the book, the answer that is developed throughout that book is 42. So if you were confused before, welcome to humanism. You're going to be confused forever. So I believe that's my last slide. So as sort of a closing, it is my hope that we all go out and be good human beings, or don't, because it's your choice, but know that I believe in every single one of you to be a good human being. So, thank you.
When you're down and troubled and you need some love and care, and nothing, no, nothing is going right, close your eyes and think of me, and soon I will be there to brighten up even your darkest just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running to see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, all you've got to do is call, and I'll be there, yes I will. You've got a friend. If the sky above you grows dark and full of clouds, and that old north wind begins to blow, keep your head together and call my name out loud, and soon you'll hear me knocking at your door. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running to see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, all you've got to do is call, and I'll be there, yes I will. Now ain't it good to know that you've got a friend? When people can be so cold, they'll hurt you, yes, and desert you. Well, they'll take your soul if you let them. Oh, but don't you let them. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running to see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, all you got to do is call, and I'll be there, yes I will. You've got a friend. You've got a friend.
And the closing words are by Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, journalist, suffragist, conservationist. I believe that life should be lived so vividly and so intensely that thoughts of another life or of a longer life are not necessary. Go in peace. Know that you are loved and that your life is sacred